So you got this old doe that ain't nobody ever shot. She's old as dirt, but you can't sit in the woods without her. She's looking in trees all the time. She's smart.
Mm.
She's seen stuff get shot in front of her. She's probably been shot at. Maybe she's been shot. She's been burned enough. She's seen the world and she knows, and she's old and she's looking around. That's what we see. It's kind of the same thing you see with these guys that are exploiting children, especially on the sexual exploitation side. They're smart. They hide it well. They know because so many law enforcement do stings so many times and they burn themselves. And heck, I mean, we've burned ourselves before too, but it's just once they see get burned or they see a buddy get burned, we'll have guys casing us out for 2 or 3 hours in the parking lot. And so that's why we have to be careful where we do takedowns at. If we're on a static, or if we're on a mobile, we might have multiples in there, and they see us take down a guy in a parking lot, right? And they've already been casing us out. So you have to be careful with how you go about bringing in this buck to your bait pile, for lack of a better word, because some of them dumb as rock. Some of them just show up and don't think about it. But yeah, a lot of them very smart. So yes, we have to change stuff up a good bit because they've been burned by law enforcement before. Some of them have been caught before. A lot of these guys are repeat offenders. I had a guy last night that was he'd actually been charged. He had sexually abused. He was charged with 13A6 TAC 66 in Alabama, which is sexual abuse of a minor. I think it said he had something along that lines. It was sexual abuse of a minor. I think it was a 14-year-old girl he had sexually abused. So he had actually already physically done it, and now he's showing up for another 14-year-old girl. So that's the other thing. You get these repeat offenders.
Can you walk me through, like, if you don't mind, yesterday? You said earlier before we hit record, you showed up at 6 a.m. to kind of set up, and it was all the way through about 11 p.m. Right by the time you probably got home. Well,
we left at 6. So normally, let's use something that's not running right now. We'll use just a general op template, and I'll try to curb it as much as possible. When you work with a law enforcement agency, us acting as consultants, we go in. Most of the time, the agency calls us, says, "Hey, we want you to set this up for us." So if a sheriff's office calls, we'll go in and we'll set up this sort of sting. We'll give them training on the front end. This is how you set this up. These are the things you need in place, which ain't that much. These are the things you need in place. Here's the tools you have to have. We have all the equipment and tools they have to have, and then we show them how to put the pieces in the proper place, right? Because a lot of times agencies have the knowledge of how to do it, but they get the order of operations wrong. PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. The order of operations. I might get any portion of the problem correct, but if the order of operations wrong, is my answer at the end going to be correct? No. So it's the same thing. They might get the certain portions of the problem correct, but they oftentimes get the order of operations wrong. And it's not a hit on law enforcement. It's because they haven't historically done this. They've got the tools, and a lot of times they have the knowledge. They just don't have the knowledge of how to put these things in place to be able to make it happen like that in one evening. So that's kind of what we give them and we lay out for them. And then we have it already set up through our stuff where we run a sting with them. It's on the job training for them. And so we run a child exploitation sting static, or sometimes we'll do mobile, or sometimes we'll do both. And it's normally about a 60-day minimum lead time to get it set up with an agency. Sometimes we'll do it quicker. Normally about a 60-day lead time to get everything in place, and then you run that operation. And we're booked out with agencies all over the nation until June of next year.
Really?
Yeah, that's just one a month now. So, and when we run one, we normally run 2 or 3 nights of those stings. Most of the time we do two nights, but normally we do 2 or 3 nights of those stings. And so that's a full day of training, a half day of training, an operation, a half day of training, an operation. And that gives them everything they need. So then when we leave, go forth and do great work. Make this work for you in your area, because it's different in, New Mexico than it is in Florida.